Reddit is a rabbit hole, and sometimes hours of endless scrolling can lead you to one of the darkest parts of the internet, where you'll find some of the most shocking and gruesome crimes committed in history. And this first one will surely give you the chills. This is the actual story of Jason Worley, a software engineer who resorted to the internet for marriage guidance, only to have his entire life ruined by a very evil lady. Everything started in 2016. On Reddit, Jason is known by his username jasoninhell, and we all know how crazy Reddit can be. Reddit is really the 6th most popular website in the United States and the 18th most popular worldwide. It's the largest database of knowledge, and it's easy to become lost in it. While people would post the most random questions or threads on the platform, a murder in the making is totally out of the picture, right? Anyway, just like his name suggests, Jason is experiencing some kind of hell in his life, specifically with his wife. So, just like any person who has a lot of time on his hands, Jason seeks refuge on Reddit, which is essentially a big online forum or community where individuals can ask questions, get help, share information, and express their opinions on pretty much anything. The problem is that Reddit threads, like practically anything else on the internet, can be preserved. It never actually disappears from the web after it's uploaded, even if you attempt to erase it. Going back, Jason was having marital problems and decided to seek anonymous advice from strangers on Reddit, which is understandable because your friends are likely to be biased, and you may not want everyone you know in real life to know what's going on in your personal life. He started with a very shocking statement saying, "I caught my wife cheating on me over a year ago. I stayed with her for the sake of our children, but I haven't been able to get it off my mind since." From the get-go, Redditors knew that this was a lost case, and the couple is just avoiding the inevitable. Jasoninhell continued and wrote, "So, to get back to the beginning, I had just taken on a new project and new responsibilities at work. I was working a lot of hours, 60 plus per week, and was noticeably stressed. It was in May of 2015 that I noticed that she had added a password to her phone. When confronted about it, she told me it was because she was planning my Father's Day present and didn't want me to ruin the surprise. However, it was not a very good surprise in the end because the password stayed even after Father's Day. Things also got very suspicious after he noticed that his wife's GPS was getting on and off from time to time. Not to mention how their neighbor was spending so much time in the house while he was away. After some time, Jason had enough and decided to confront his wife, which he also shared through the thread he made on Reddit. "My wife and the neighbor's girlfriend returned from the movie, and I asked them politely to sit down. I then asked the kids to stay in my son's room and shut the door. I return to the living room and confront my wife and the neighbor. I say, 'So you two love each other, huh?' My wife goes into full-blown denial mode, and the neighbor's girlfriend starts smacking him. But he had evidence and made sure to show them the text messages that led his wife to admit the deed. While he wanted to call it quits, he was afraid that their kids would be dragged into the mess and became very hesitant about leaving his cheating wife. After that, his thread gained traction, and tons of Redditors urged him to just bite the bullet and file for divorce. And based on his next post, Jason from Hell went with it and shared that counseling didn't work out. At this point, people who had been following the thread were glad that he was finally out of such a toxic relationship, but they didn't expect what was coming next. This was after Brandy Worley, the wife on the thread, killed their 2 children. According to reports, Jason was sleeping in the basement of a residence in Indiana, United States, when the double murder occurred in the early hours of November 17, 2016. The tragic incident unfolded in the family's bathroom, where Brandy reportedly stabbed the 2 kids to death. Montgomery County Prosecutor Joe Buser provided a sequence of events, stating that Jason Worley informed his wife he wanted a divorce on November 15th. The next morning, Brandy Worley brought the children to spend the day with her mother. That afternoon, Jason arrived home from work, and the family headed to Charlie's dancing practice. Brandy reportedly went to Walmart after supper, telling her husband she needed pipe cleaners for Tyler's school assignment. Instead of pipe cleaners, she purchased a knife, which she eventually used to commit the crime. It was later revealed that Brandy was distraught after Jason opened up about the divorce and decided to take the lives of her kids to punish Jason. The haunting 911 call was later made public, and you can hear the chilling moment when Brandy informed dispatchers what she did to the innocent kids. Jason shared the incident on Reddit, and almost everyone was left speechless. In the end, Brandy was sentenced to 120 days in prison. If you think Brandy deserves to rot in hell because of what she did, wait until you hear about what this 19-year-old did to his entire family. Just like any teenager, Farhan Tawhid loves strolling the internet because where else can they express themselves? Anyways, Farhan reported owning a Reddit account, and there he would answer random questions and join threads where he would interact with others. He goes by the username Galpticos. While most of his posts and comments were normal, there were also telltale signs that would make us believe that he was going through something. For instance, when asked, "What does depression feel like?" Farhan wrote, "Numb." And while this might not have raised a red flag for people who were able to read these posts, things took a drastic turn after Farhan uploaded a very shocking post on his Instagram. "Hey everyone, I killed myself and my family." The post contains a more concerning 11-page note, which made family and friends immediately contact the authorities for a wellness check. They also warned the police that Farhan was suicidal. Following that, officers forced their way into the red brick residence in Allen, Texas, and were not expecting what they saw inside. And to say that this will forever haunt them is an understatement. Inside the house, 6 individuals were discovered dead: Farhan Tawhid, his brother Tanvir Tawhid, 21, his father Tawhidul Islam, 54, his mother Irene Islam, 56, his grandmother Altufun Nisa, 77, and his 19-year-old twin sister Farbid Tawhid. While police were first clueless about who did such a horrible crime, they were led to the note Farhan posted before, and suddenly everything made sense. But the truth is much darker than a simple murder. Based on the investigation, the brothers Farhan and Tanvir agreed to kill their entire family through a suicide pact. It looks like the two sons entered into an agreement that they were going to die by suicide and that they were going to take their family members with them, Allen Police Department Sergeant John Felty said. However, while everything was planned from beginning to end, people who were close to the family didn't expect this to happen. In fact, friends and neighbors were shocked by the horrific slaughter. It was revealed that they had relocated to the United States from Bangladesh some 15 years ago. According to Chowdhury, the Tawhid family originally resided in New York before migrating to Allen, a northern suburb of Dallas. Tawhidul, the father, worked in information technology, while his wife, Irene, looked after the house and their children. A neighbor also informed the Dallas Morning News that Altafun, the grandmother, was visiting from Bangladesh and was supposed to fly home last week, but her flight was canceled because of the pandemic, which ultimately cost her life. Farbin was off to a bright future after she received a full scholarship just a few weeks before she was murdered by her twin brother. When the police went over the note to seek answers, they concluded that the tragic incident happened because of the unnoticed mental difficulties the brother was suffering from. In the note, Farhan wrote that he had been depressed since 9th grade and had regularly hurt himself. His family had attempted to help him, but he claimed that his mental condition had suddenly worsened to the point of feeling helpless. He had been studying computer science at the University of Texas at Austin, but she said he was kicked out of his dorm in the winter for discussing his mental condition with a roommate. Maybe this made matters worse. Who knows? Authorities claimed that the brothers brought firearms and even mocked how gun control in the US is a joke, since all they did was lie when asked if they had mental illnesses. However, the police didn't clarify how many firearms were used in the incident, although they were able to lawfully acquire one. Surprisingly, neighbors didn't hear any gunshots when the incident happened.
They were very, close family, loving family. It just, all of a sudden, maybe the depression piled up. Parents did not know. They could not, our boys did not, express it well.
At the same time, there were no report of any gun-related incident that day, which totally confused authorities. How can no one know a horrible murder was already taking place? Nonetheless, the pair decided to kill their family and then themselves. He wrote, "Instead of having to deal with the aftermath of my suicide, I could just do them a favor and take them with me," the note reads. This brings me back to Farhan's post on Reddit, and suddenly everything was clear. In the end, the tragedy sent a shockwave in the community. Even authorities revealed that they hadn't seen something this extreme in years, and to see a whole family dead inside their home was more than devastating. A lot of people were present when the bodies were taken, mostly members of the Bangladesh community in the area who showed their support and condolences to the deceased family. Lastly, the next case will make you rethink how crazy humans can be. Okay, so once upon a time, there was a Redditor who went by the username European88, also known as Joshua Goldberg in real life. While his account is already suspended, he used to post mostly immigration-related stuff. While some of you might say that he might be just a random guy who is interested in this kind of topic, his actions will prove that you are wrong. Like, entirely wrong. It was later revealed that he was also the person behind some very questionable articles related to refugees, not to mention how he has endless accounts, which he uses to spread so much negativity. His Twitter account, under the username Australia Witness, is solely dedicated to promoting his support for ISIS. This is where things took a drastic turn. This was after he used his Twitter account to promote what was supposed to be a terrorist attack at a Texas convention center, where a Draw Muhammad event was being hosted on May 3, 2015. While his post was, at best, a joke, there were actually people who showed up at the event and caused havoc. Joshua would later praise the attackers but deny his involvement by saying, "This is a war that will won through the power of social media. I support what our Mujahideen in Texas did, but I take no responsibility for it. Allah commanded them to attack, not me." However, he didn't stop there. He would later use this account to encourage people to do the same at several events. Joshua would even share guides on how to make DIY explosives that his followers could use. Going back to European88, Joshua would use this Reddit account to share his white supremacist propaganda. And he would, more often than not, use this account to contribute to some of the platform's most controversial subreddits. Specifically, Reddit Coontown is basically a very racist subreddit that would promote violence. He even created a subreddit of his own where he would mock Eric Garner, who died after being detained by the police for selling cigarettes. But this is only the tip of the iceberg because he was also the author of the subreddit called The Philosophy of Rape. And as the title implies, it's full of discussion about corrective sexual assault, as if there's even an excuse for this kind of behavior. And while European88 thought he could get away with spreading so much hate and negativity on the internet, he was proven wrong after the feds finally caught up on his craziness and decided to end this once and for all. The Australian police kicked off an investigation and targeted his controversial Twitter account, which successfully uncovered who was behind the account. Later on, his conversation with an undercover federal agent was revealed, and other unthinkable plans were mentioned. One of which is a plan to initiate a jihadi attack at a 9/11 memorial event with instructions on how to make explosives under a pressure cooker. Luckily, he was nabbed by the police before he could kickstart his horrible plan. But there was more than meets the eye. This was after experts were able to sit down and study his mental state, and what they found out will surely blow your mind. On September 9, 2015, Joshua was arrested after authorities raided his parents' home. During this time, the man displayed very problematic behavior that prompted the authorities to investigate in connection to his mental well-being. As a result, it was decided that Jason should undergo a 30-day mental health evaluation to make sure that he's mentally capable of standing trial. While a lot of people were looking to see the outcome of the case, it was later found by a psychologist that Joshua is mentally incompetent and must undergo professional treatment for more or less 4 months before he's allowed to face the judge and the jury to defend himself. The expert stated that he had mood swings during his examination and described his cognitive presence as notable for its grandiosity and paranoid delusions, including illusions of being persecuted. Joshua's counsel later stated that the guy had Asperger's syndrome and autism, and Joshua had a history of schizophrenia. On December 20th, 2017, Joshua pleaded guilty to attempted malicious damage and destruction by an explosive of a building, and he was sentenced to serve 10 years in federal prison to be followed by a lifetime of supervised release. Let me know in the comments what you think about these bizarre cases, and I look forward to seeing you on the next video.